Hello and welcome back, everybody, to this episode of The Breakdown with your host, Big Nick. We finally have good news. It's been a while. It's been rough in the sports world lately. Not gonna lie about that. We all know we've been struggling, but we finally have some good news with sports. And nothing's perfect right now, so we can't get too excited, and we still need a lot more details to come out. But I'd say we're all pretty happy with what's going on as far as the NBA, the NHL, and we're hearing good things with football now. Positive signs about it looking as normal, as normal as can be under these circumstances. So not a lot of complaints so far. UFC was good this weekend. Amanda Nunes, another victory. She looked unbelievable. Not a huge surprise there. 5-1 favorite. NASCAR was good. Kevin Harvick got the win there over in Atlanta. So things are happening. We're getting back into the mix a little bit, but again, nothing's perfect, and we got a shorter show today. We're going to cover what's really going on as far as all these decisions being made by the different leagues. And then we were going to kind of run by that quickly at first, and then I decided, let me just spend the whole show on each league, on what we're looking at, and then tomorrow we'll get into the NFL and the different divisions like I had promised we were going to do. So, and more like predictions and stuff like that, fun stuff. But I figure let's spend a shorter show today, really let everyone know exactly what's going on, and that's what we're going to do. So, we can hop right into it. The NBA. The NBA has finally came out with a plan, and it's been approved by all teams involved except for the Portland Trailblazers. And we'll get into why they didn't necessarily love the idea. There's still, guys have come out and said we're eager to play basketball, so we're not going to hold out or anything like that, which again is all good. That's all good news because that's the last thing we want to see. But there's reasons why, mathematically, why they weren't so happy with the proposal and with the new plan, but we'll get into that. So let's just hop right into it. We'll start in the NBA, and I do have the plan here that's set in stone. So from ESPN.com, it says the 16 teams in the Eastern and Western Conferences will be joined by teams currently within 6 games of the 8th place, usually the last playoff spot, in both conferences: New Orleans, Portland, San Antonio, Sacramento, Phoenix, and Washington. The play-in tournament will include the number 8 and 9 teams in each conference. If the 9th seed finishes the regular season within 4 games of the 8th seed, in that case, the number 9 seed would need to beat the number 8 seed twice to earn a playoff berth, while the number 8 seed would only need to win one of the potential 2 games against the 9 seed. So pretty much nothing's perfect right now, but it created, with the regular season not being finished, it gives these teams the fighting chance to make the playoffs that they would have had if we didn't get postponed. And that goes more and less for different teams. And that's what the problem really is you look at a team like Portland or even a team like New Orleans, where they're a lot closer, where we're looking at a team that's 3 games out, whereas you look at a team like Phoenix who's 6 out. It's kind of, is it fair? Maybe not so much, but what this does is it gives teams a shot. Instead of just cutting it off at the top 8 the way they were, let's be honest, maybe not all of us wanted to see, because Memphis is the 8 seed right now. That's the way it is right now, is the Grizzlies would be in. But as fun as they are and as fun as Ja Morant is, a lot of us didn't want to see them. I mean, you guys could tell me in the comments if I'm wrong, but I would say the vast majority of us want to either see Portland as the 8th seed because for whatever reason, they didn't have a great season this year, but they were in the Western Conference Finals a year ago. We know what they can do. We know what Damian Lillard can do. We know what C.J. McCollum can do. Terry Stotts, great coach. We've seen them go deep. So I'd say a lot of us would want to see them in the playoffs, quite frankly, or Zion. A lot of us want to see Zion. Zion's he's a catch. I mean, and the Pelicans have been playing good basketball since he came back. They hung around just enough while he was out with the injury. They hung around just enough all year long where when he came back, they were able to make a solid run at this. And now it's actually maybe benefiting them that we had this little hiatus because they're going to get a fair shake at getting that 9 seed, honestly. You don't even need to catch Memphis. That's what's so big about this is you're not even trying to catch Memphis. If you're Portland or New Orleans now and you're 3.5, 4 games out, you just got to catch each other. All you got to do is get that 9 seed and you will get a shot. You will have a shot to win 2 games against, say, the Grizzlies, if it is them, to earn a playoff slot, a legitimate playoff spot where you would play a 7-game series. And we can wait, we got to wait for more details, honestly, because, like I said, nothing is perfect about this whole thing yet. Sorry, my mic is just a little messed up here. Nothing is perfect, though, right now, so we do need to wait on more details. We need to wait for more kind of clarification on everything. But it's going to be held in Orlando, and we're hearing that they're going to let families come. They're going to let families attend. They're looking at maybe about 1,500 people, which isn't anything crazy. It's nothing huge, but it's something. It'll give us some sort of normality, rather than an empty gym, because then you might as well just go play at a high school. But no, that's all good stuff. It's going to be fun. And what's interesting to me is they're not going to start till August, they're saying. So now, if you look at when we finished in, mid-March. So you say half of March, April, May, June, July, August, we're going to start. So that's 5 months. You have 5 extra months here. And what's interesting about that to me is injuries. Injuries are big here because you look at a team like Washington. Does Washington scare anybody? No, probably not. I mean, they don't. But what happens with a team with Washington is now, listen, and we were hearing this in March, John Wall's healthy. We were hearing John Wall's healthy, but we're going to take precautions, which is understandable, where they were in the standings, and the reality of it is if they do get the 8th seed, you're going to run into Milwaukee, and you're not going to win that series. But it's interesting because now you have 5 extra months. It's not like 1 month or 2 months. It's 5. So if John Wall was healthy in March, and they're telling us he's healthy in March, we're just taking precautions, the way I look at it is, now in August, play him. John Wall's got to play. And the way I also look at it is, we're also hearing Kevin Durant's not going to play, and Kyrie Irving, and to me, this is a chance for Washington to maybe, who knows, maybe hop into a 7 seed. They're not so far out of that. So the way I look at it is if John Wall's healthy and Bradley Beal's healthy, this is a completely different Wizards team. And they were playing good at the end of the year. They were. But now this is a completely different Wizards team. And I'm interested in the series. Maybe not with Milwaukee so much, but we need to wait for the NBA to tell us more about how they're going to set these standings. But however they do it, like if they run into a team like Toronto, I'm interested in that series with a healthy John Wall. I am. I'm interested in that series. I'm not saying they'd win, but it's an interesting series nonetheless. And you look at the West, and first of all, staying on the East for a second, you look at a team like Indiana. They could get Oladipo, like, nice and healthy now. You know, you look at a team like Boston. They were having a lot of injuries. They get healthy. A lot of things are going to be different. But on the Western Conference side of it, I'm looking at all these teams. We don't know who we're going to watch. We don't. Like I said, we have Portland, who Portland to me is the most intriguing team because I think they could win. And I don't mean they could win the NBA championship, but I mean this is a team last year that takes us with them to the Western Conference Finals. Like, they were legit. They were a legit team. And for whatever reason, it didn't click this year for them from the start. But now with a proposal like this, it's almost like a fresh start. It's almost like, give me Damian Lillard, C.J. McCollum, Hassan Whiteside, and honestly Carmelo Anthony. Give me that group. That's intriguing to me. That's a playoff team. That's a playoff team that can win some games. So you look at them, you don't know if we're going to see them. You don't know if we're going to see Zion Williamson and the Pelicans, a younger group. They're tough. You don't know if we're going to be watching Greg Popovich. You know, the Spurs are in this new proposal as well. We could be watching Pop in the playoffs again. No surprise there if we did. You know, we could be watching the Kings. The Kings and the Suns are kind of on the outside looking in, quite honestly. But they're intriguing. Harrison Barnes kind of took over this kind of leadership veteran role lately, where he's really looking comfortable, along with Fox. And when we look at Phoenix, to a lesser degree, they don't have as much talent. But Devin Booker, you know, this is the NBA. It's not like baseball where, you know, one guy, where, listen, Mike Trout could lose his entire career. We don't look at him any less. My point is this is basketball. Devin Booker can take over a game. Say they get that 9 seed, he can take over 2 games and beat whoever the 8 seed is twice to get in the playoffs. We've seen that that's what great players do. That wouldn't be anything out of the ordinary, anything outrageous to say. So it's going to be fun, though, because we really don't know who we're going to be watching. And that's what's so interesting about this whole proposal, is we're not sure what we're going to be looking at when it's all said and done. And the other thing is that I look at when it comes to, and this goes for, I guess, both the NBA and the NHL, and I'll get into why it's a little different, but I don't know who this benefits more for the NBA. Does this benefit a team? See the Lakers, a team like the Lakers or the Clippers or even Milwaukee, personnel-wise and just as an overall club, they're the best teams. So it shouldn't affect them as much. It actually probably will help them because you don't have to go to, you know, listen, when it's a neutral site and the Lakers are playing whoever, it doesn't matter as much to a team like them as a team to like Denver, quite honestly. Where I look at a team like Denver, this hurts them, I think, at least, because you really feed off of the high altitude in Denver, that home crowd. Like, you feed off of that. You need that. And then you look to steal a road game. But in a neutral site, in Orlando, with no fans, that kills a team like Denver. That kills a team like Indiana. You look at a team like Indiana, and they don't get out of the first round much anyway. But you look forward, you need those home games. Those home games is where you could say we have to grab wins at home, and then you try to steal one on the road. You don't have that now. That really hurts a team like that. Toronto, same thing. You know, it's tough for the road team to travel up north and go play in Toronto. But now you don't have that. You don't have that luxury. So it's going to be interesting to see. And hockey, to a lesser degree, And that's why it's different, is because, and this isn't a knock on hockey, this is just a fact. It's in black and white. It's a fact. The home team doesn't win as much in the hockey playoffs. It does mean less. And that's not a knock on hockey, but that's a fact. We see 8 seeds in hockey beat 1 seeds. We see teams come back from 3-0 deficits, 3-1 deficits in a series, and we see a lot of road wins. It's weird in hockey. You'll see a team open up a series at home and drop the first 2 at home, and then you'll see them go on the road and tie the series. It's like, hockey's fun to watch because you don't know what you're getting. So, but I look at this NBA proposal, and I think it really hurts a lot of teams. And the reason why Portland is hurt here, and the reason why Portland actually voted no on this proposal, is because of the winning percentage. See, Portland's played more games than these other teams in the Western Conference. So that hurts them winning percentage-wise because they have more losses than these other teams, but that's just because of the fact that they've played more games. The way the scheduling worked that day on March 13th, the NBA said, nope, we're done. Postponed, bang. Portland gets a little, they get the short end of the stick there because of that reason. Now, if there is a tie break that they need to get, they won't have the benefit of the doubt with their winning percentage because they do have more losses just based on the mathematics of it. They've played more games. But I think the NBA, we're hearing rumblings that they're going to fix that, and they're going to have an answer for that so that it's a fair shake in the end. And I hope they do, because I'm rooting for Portland to get in, because like I said, I think they propose a threat to the top teams. Because at the beginning of the year, we all considered them a top team. Maybe not a top 3, but we all considered Portland a top 5 or 6 team. We didn't consider them a 9 seed looking in on the playoffs. Absolutely not. None of us saw that. None of us predicted that. No one thought like a team, like at the beginning of the year this season, you're genuinely going to tell me you thought the Oklahoma City Thunder were a better team than Portland? Of course you didn't. Of course not. Nobody did. Everyone figured OKC was going to be real bad, and then at the trade deadline, they would dish out Chris Paul and get more assets. But they've been playing out of their mind, and good for them. They have a solidified spot. My point is, though, is Portland's a better team than them. We all know this. So I'd like to see them get in because I think they can upset some teams and surprise some people. But we'll see what the NBA does with that. But nevertheless, good news from that league. Good news. I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be fun. You won't get that real playoff feel, we don't think, because it is fun on TV when you're watching a playoff game, whoever the team may be, but even a team like Boston or LA, you hear it on TV. You feel like you're in that stadium. It's rocking. We're not going to get that this time around, but it'll be different. Nothing's perfect right now. We're not in a great situation here anyway, but we're going to take what we can get. And I hope they work it out. I hope they work out the mathematics with each team so that it is fair. But we'll when they do release more news on that, we will cover it, and I'll let you guys know. But we'll move on to the next league. And again, similar format to a point, but it's the NHL. And again, as I said before, home ice in the NHL, it's not exactly, it's not exactly what you would expect as far as like the NBA. Let's be honest. If the Pacers go to pick your team, Milwaukee, they're probably not going to get the win. It's not going to happen. They really need that home court. With the NHL, though, I look at a team like, the Rangers even, And I know Lundqvist hasn't been in net all year. I'm just using it as an example. As a New Yorker, when he's in net, You've seen it in the past years when they get in the postseason. It doesn't matter if he's at the Garden, or if he's in Toronto, or if he's in LA. It doesn't matter. It's almost like baseball in a sense where you can have that one guy just shun everything out, and that's the way it's gonna go, and he'll just take over. So I think hockey, to a lesser degree, the home ice matters. That's just the truth to me. There's very few teams in hockey, and there are some, but there's very few teams in hockey where you're like, wow, this team just needs to be home. They can't win on the road. It doesn't happen as much. So, but we'll get into their plan more. And it's not much different, just the fact that it's 24 teams. So what you're getting in the NHL now is a lot of teams where in the NBA, everyone kind of had a fair shot to get in, except for kind of Phoenix and the Kings kind of looking in, kind of like, okay, maybe we didn't need to throw them in the mix. But the NHL, there's a lot of teams that we just threw in, let's be honest. 24 teams, a lot of teams that really were getting ready to pack it in the sense of like, okay, it's time to, we're not making the playoffs, we're not really in the hunt anymore, maybe shut down a guy or two for precautions and call it a season. But now if you're in the top 24, you're in. And we've seen in hockey, you got a great goalie, you can make a run. You get hot at the right time, you can make a run. I look at it, and again, not to just sit on New York teams right now, because I'm not trying to sit on one city, but I look at a team like the Islanders. All year long from the start, they're in the hunt, not more than in the hunt. They have a playoff spot, playing great hockey, looking great. They're I think they lose 9 out of 10 before this postponed season, and they find themselves outside looking in, where it looks like their season's been ruined. They just can't get out of this funk. And now what this does for them is a complete restart. It's a complete restart for a very good team. And you're going to see that in a lot of cases in this playoff. Don't be surprised if one of the favorites, don't be surprised if one of the top 2 teams or 3 teams doesn't win the Stanley Cup this year. It might be an outsider. Place your bets now. We'll get into it on another show of what teams we really should be looking at with value in both these leagues, in the NBA and the NHL. What teams have value to win the championship that you might not expect. But don't expect a favorite to definitely win it this year. I'm telling you, it's going to be, I don't know, it's going to be fun to watch because it's a fresh start. And there's a lot of teams in that position. You look at a team even like Montreal, a lot of people thought they were going to be better this year. They were supposed to be one of the kind of middle-of-the-pack teams, but maybe was going to overperform in a lot of people's eyes, and they didn't. But they had moments. They had sparks, is my point. And now you look at them where they're not going to get in the playoffs. It was kind of over. It was bleak. But now what this does is it gives them a lift. It gives them, one, a time to say, okay, let's take a breather, restart. And 2, quite honestly, it says, here you go. You're in the playoffs for nothing. Oh, what did we do? Nothing. You did nothing. But we have 24 teams. We're going to make it fun. You're in. And that's a team that can be scary. So, that's where we're at with that. Those 2 leagues are similar to me. I think it's going to be fun. I'm mostly looking forward to that this summer. And here's why. Because we'll get into the bad news now. And that's the MLB. The MLB has just been taking us for a ride. They've been taking us for a ride all summer, all spring and summer, since this came out, and we've never really been sure what we're getting. And there's a new proposal yesterday, actually, and I'll read it to you guys just so we're all clear. And it's not so great. It's not going to get approved by the players union. I can't say it's going to. Yeah, I mean, it says extensive health and safety protocols for players and team personnel. Okay, we know that, obviously. Larger rosters, universal DH, which, listen, universal DH, you can deal with that for a season. I've heard a few buddies of mine and people I talk to saying, no, and they're baseball fanatics, like, no, this takes away from the true game. This takes away from the NL. I don't like a universal DH. Get over it. Get over it, all right? We don't need to see the pitcher bunt, okay? Really. Do we need to see Madison Bumgarner hit a few home runs? Deal with the DH. It's a shortened season, okay? Stop with the whole, but this isn't the right way. The NL should be playing the game. Enough. Deal with the DH for now. Universal DH in both leagues. And regional schedule to reduce travel, which makes sense. It makes sense. Why have interleague play across the country? Why? So our players can get sick and we can just call the season off again? It's smart. Again, everyone's complaining. Nothing's going to be perfect. Nothing's going to be perfect. That's what I keep trying to say. Is everyone thinks they have the right plan. If you put it one way, you're going to upset some people. If you put it another way, you're going to upset some people. Nothing's going to be perfect in this situation. So, reduced travel makes sense. And, for example, it says we'll have interleague play. The AL East can play some teams from the NL East. Your Subway Series, your Yankees Mets. Your Dodgers Giants rivalry. I know it's the same division, but my point is your Dodgers Angels rivalry. They're still going to be there. You're going to see these things. But just because a team across the country isn't going to play, that doesn't mean it doesn't count. I'm already hearing, oh, well, whoever wins the World Series this year, does it really count? Does it really mean anything? Yeah, it does. Will there be a little mark next to it for all, for history? Yes, there will be. And yeah, maybe that's fair because, come on, it is a shortened season. It's different, no fans, less travel, universal DH, stuff like that. I get it. But it still counts. You should still go celebrate. You should still watch your team. You should still go crazy about it. It's still a season. It's still a postseason. It's still a World Series. It's still in the record books. It's not like you're playing 15 games. What's the proposal now? This is a 76-game proposal. You're playing 76 games. It's not 15. It's not 20. It's not 40. 76 games. It's a lot of games, not including the playoffs. It counts. If your team wins the World Series this year, be happy. Be happy because it counts. And you might never get it again. Ask a Cubs fan. Really, ask a Cubs fan. Enjoy it. If your team's in it this year and they go far or, they win the World Series, enjoy every second of it. Because for a lot of teams, this is going to help them. For a lot of teams, this is going to be their only shot. A lot of teams aren't built for 162 games. They'll be more built for this. So enjoy it. But we'll keep going. Expanded playoffs. Just what I was saying. Expanded playoffs. Possibly 14 total teams in the postseason. So again, if this is your shot, if you're on the outside looking in a jam-packed league or even a jam-packed division, take your shot. This is room for you to sneak in. This is room for you to sneak in, get a couple great pitching performances in a series, and have an upset. Where you wouldn't have got that the other way. You wouldn't have had this. So let's play. And from the money side of it, listen, I'm sorry. I heard Stephen A. Smith give a whole rundown on this, and I 100% agree with the guy. I really do. Listen, you play baseball for a living. This isn't a political show, okay? But there's 30 million Americans out of work right now. Okay? You play baseball. You play baseball. I don't want to hear Bryce Harper on a 10-year, $100 million plus dollar contract with endorsements. I don't want to hear Bryce Harper tell me he's not making enough money this season. How can you say that? How can you say that? I don't get it. It infuriates me so much. How can you say that to your fans? What fan in Washington, D.C. who's out of work, what small business owner wants to hear you say that? Well, he's not in D.C. In Philadelphia. Does it matter? It doesn't matter. Anyone around the country, no one wants to hear the people they look up to, the people their kids look up to, complain about when you're making $100 million to complain for one season you're going to make less. What are the owners saying? And the owners are being, listen, the owners are being a little cheap with it too. But they're the owners. They are the owners for a reason. Okay? And I get it. It's a major league sport. You want to get paid. But look at the things we're talking about. Extensive health and safety protocols. Reduced traveling. I mean, we're not putting your life in danger here. We're not. You're going to make less money. I think the new number the owner said is 40% of your contract for one season. Get on the field and play, and you'll make 40% of your contract. I would understand it a lot more, and I wouldn't be freaking out about it if, say, a minor leaguer, which some have, but a minor leaguer or a guy who's making $500,000 or a guy who's making $2 million, okay, to say, one of the lower paid guys to say, I want my money. Can we work out a deal where maybe there's a number kind of where there's like kind of a cutoff in contracts where we'll say he can make less, but I should make more of percentage of my contract. That would bother me less. I'd say, okay, you're a young guy, you're trying to make it, you don't make as much money, pay him. But these aren't the guys complaining. And some have, but for the majority, these aren't the guys complaining. In fact, these guys are complaining less. These guys want to just play baseball. These guys are saying, forget the money. I'm trying to be a Major League Baseball player. Get me on the field. Get me on the field and let me play. That would bother me less if they were complaining, but it's not. It's Blake Snell. It's Bryce Harper. Are you kidding me? That's terrible to me. And a lot of people agree. And I heard Stephen A. Smith go off about this too. He's on my side of it. But a lot of people disagree. A lot of people are like, well, the owners are doing them wrong. Okay, you've never had a boss that did you wrong? We've all had a boss that's done us wrong. We all have. Some of us have the money and the stability to quit and say, okay, I'm leaving. Some do. But most of us don't. If a boss does us wrong, most of us have to say, okay, sir, okay, ma'am. And we have to just accept it. And we're going to take what they give us. And that's just the truth. That's the real world. That's the real world. And you just need to work harder next time. Now, I get this is different. It's a major league sport. It's a national business. It's a $1 billion business. I understand it is on a different scale. But remember where you come from. Put everything aside for a minute. Come on. Put some kind of moral, some sort of, reality in your head. If you're Bryce Harper, if you're Blake Snell, if you're Trevor Bauer, if you're any of these guys complaining, Come on. You play baseball. Look at your contract. Look at what you have. As you're sitting in your multi-million-dollar mansion, and you're texting your agent because you're not making enough money this season to play 70 games. Come on. Look in the mirror. What would you tell your kids? So that's where I'm at with that. It's sickened me a little bit because it's crazy. I kind of thought baseball would get done first because baseball hasn't started yet. At least these other leagues, as far as, the NHL and the NBA, listen, they're halfway through and, they got to just get the playoffs over with and whatever. Baseball hasn't even started. You would think there's some sort of love for the game, and I guess we were wrong. We were all wrong, but I thought there was some kind of love for the game. Where baseball players would be like, I need to, I need to get on the field. I have to play. I have to hit a baseball. Seriously, I really thought there was a sense of urgency there for them to be like, I can't wait any longer. I can't do this. We need to play. Give me 40% of my contract, whatever. It's 70 games, I have all my endorsements as well for a lot of them. I need to play baseball. And it's the opposite. We're actually seeing that, unfortunately, the love of the game might not be there as much as we thought it was for a lot of these guys. It's about the dollar sign right now, and it really shouldn't be for most of these guys. Like I said, if you're a younger guy, you're on a shorter and smaller contract, I get it more. You can come out and be like, oh, listen, I need to get paid too. Because if I throw my arm out and I'm done, I didn't go to college because I went to the minors, and listen, I need to get paid. I get it. You have an argument. But a lot of these guys don't. To me. And I wish the owners would say, okay, listen, we hear you. Let's get a deal done. But the owners are being stubborn. But again, they're the boss. Listen, it's a players' league to a point. But then there's a point where the boss steps in and says, well, I'm the boss. So we're going to do what I say. I don't care if you guys don't play. And what do you do as an employee? Assuming you're not a professional athlete. What do you do as an employee? Most of us don't have, it's not the courage, but most of us don't have the stability financially to say, well, I quit. Because how you putting food on the table next week? Think about that. These guys never have to worry about that. These guys have the money to live 10 lifetimes more. In Bryce Harper's case, 200 lifetimes. Really. $100 million contract. And we can't play baseball. So that's the bad news of the show, NBA, NHL, good work. Some things to tweak, some things to fix, and they will. But that's the good news. Good job. Looking forward to it. We need sports back, Baseball, not so much. Let's see what this proposal, let's see what happens. Maybe I'm wrong and the players, maybe they say exactly what I was criticizing them for not saying. Maybe they do just come out and say, I need to play baseball. Let's do it. Give me 40% of my contract. Let's go. Let's play. I hope they do that. But every report I'm seeing says they're not. Every report I'm seeing says this deal's not going to get done. And we're going to kind of go in a circle again with the whole thing. So, we'll see. But we do need to move on to one more league, and it is kind of good news. We're not hearing too much because we're kind of just keeping our fingers crossed, and also it's different state by state. So we're not hearing too much, but it's the NFL. Because it's hard when you have, listen, Like, Florida's open right now. You can go out to eat. You can go to a bar. It don't matter. So it's hard to tell a team like the Jaguars or even the Dolphins, you can't open camp. Because they're saying, well, why? Our state's open. It's hard to tell a team you can't open camp. And then it's hard to tell a team like the Giants or Jets in New York, you can't open camp. Because what I'm saying is the teams like the Jets and Giants are going to say, okay, that makes sense. We're still under a quarantine. We're in phase whatever. But a team down south, a team like the Titans, a team like the Jaguars, a team like Tampa Bay, they're going to say, well, we need to get going in camp. Our state's open. This is ridiculous. We have much more of a chance getting it out at dinner tonight than we do in the practice facility. So it's hard to balance, but we're hearing good news. We're hearing from the NFL that, we're looking at the safety guidelines, and it will look a lot like normal football. And even if that is just a capacity cut in stadiums, we're hopeful for fans to be in the stadiums. That's amazing. That's awesome. And I would assume, and I don't know if this is right or true, but I would assume that if you allow a certain amount of fans for one team, it would have to be league-wide, because, again, it wouldn't be fair, even if you are in a safer state where the numbers are kind of dropping as far as COVID goes, it wouldn't be fair one Sunday or not one Sunday, actually, if for 8 Sundays for a team down south, like, say, Tampa Bay, to or Carolina or whatever, to have a stadium with fans, not full of fans, but to have whatever, 50%, whatever it is, full of fans. That's not fair to a team up north when you're trying to compete in the standings as far as conference goes, like for a wild card spot or whatever, so be it. That wouldn't be very fair if, like, the Jets or the Giants or, whoever, or Cincinnati or Cleveland or, they have to play their home games with no fans. And with that being said, they also need to go on the road and play teams down south with a road fan base, with an away fan base. That's a complete disadvantage and a complete mess. So I'm assuming if they are saying, which we are seeing reports that they are saying, we're going to be looking at fans in the stadiums to a point. I'm assuming that's league-wide. So buy some tickets, figure it out however you want, because we're hearing positive stuff. And it, again, for the reasons I just stated, I think it would have to be league-wide, or else you're at a complete disadvantage. A complete and just utterly unfair disadvantage as far as the standings. They wouldn't allow that to happen. That would never pass. But what you are going to see, and this is the last thing I'll touch on with the NFL till we do get more news as far as COVID and normality of it, it's going to hurt the young guys more than anything. This really hurts a Daniel Jones, really hurts a Joe Burrow, really hurts a Tua Tagovailoa, really hurts a Justin Herbert, and even like a Dwayne Haskins. This hurts the young guys more than anything, because you need camp. You need chemistry. You need the preseason to a point. Now, I'm not a huge fan of the preseason, but when you're young like that, listen, this is why it's so important to have an insurance blanket at this position and at all positions, but we'll focus on quarterback for a second. Excuse me. Because if you are the Chargers, you don't have to start Justin Herbert right away. Now you have Tyrod Taylor, who's been in the league for years. He can play. When the season starts, you slowly move Herbert into it. He didn't have camp. He didn't have, team meetings, chemistry, preseason. So you can slowly work it in. Same with the Dolphins. It's so important to have a guy like Ryan Fitzpatrick. You slowly move Tua into the mix. You don't throw him right out there. What this is going to hurt more than anything, though, is the second-year guys who don't have a lot of experience, who are going to need to start right away. And let me tell you why. There's no cohesiveness. There's no chemistry. Like I said, if you're Drew Lock, okay, you looked great at the end of last season, but that was winging it. It was on the fly. He beat some bad teams. Now there's film on you. You really depend on getting a relationship with your coach, with Coach Fangio. You know, you depend on gaining a relationship with your new receivers. You just drafted 2 receivers, Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler from Alabama and Penn State. So you need, listen, you don't get that throwing in the backyard with them, because I'm sure they are meeting at however they can, but you don't get that outside of the practice facility. It's not the same. This is a whole new offense, a whole new quarterback, whole new receivers, and that's going to hurt second-year guys. I'm telling you, it's going to. Like Drew Lock, like Daniel Jones. Listen, Daniel Jones needs to hold on to the ball. You don't get that. We addressed it when we went over the quarterback rankings, and we covered Daniel Jones. He fumbled too much last year. Throwing at a field privately with your receivers, that doesn't help you hold on to the ball. What helps you hold on to the ball is camp, is the practice facility, and is honestly the preseason. Even though the preseason is a few possessions here and there, it helps. It's reps. You don't learn how to hold on to the ball and not turn it over when you're just running routes, hitting routes with your receivers. You don't. You can create some timing, but that's not what it helps with. Dwayne Haskins, same thing. Dwayne Haskins was a mess. An absolute mess last year. He had some bright spots. Few. This is the last thing he needed. And you guys can see why. So, it happens for everyone. It's going to happen for all these young guys. So, in that sense, they'll be equal. But they'll be so far behind all these teams with veteran quarterbacks. That's what's going to hurt. They're going to be so far behind. Whereas, you look at, you stay in the division we kind of just talked about for a second, in the AFC West. Listen, I think Denver's better than Vegas. I think Denver's better than the Raiders. But the way I'm looking at it now, Gruden, Derek Carr, I have guys that have been there and been in the league for years. I'm going to say they might finish better than the Broncos. And the Broncos probably have a better team. And Drew Lock looks like he's going to be a good talent. And Jerry Jeudy and KJ Hamler, probably better receivers. But there's no cohesiveness. There's no chemistry. There's film on Drew Lock now. You don't have those reps now with this shortened off, with this, I don't know what the word is, I guess this odd off season. Really, it's going to be completely different. You're going to see a lot of guys struggling to find their way early on. And it might be too late halfway through the year. When they finally get it, it might be too late. So, we'll see. We'll see what happens with football. But it's good news, at least, that we are seeing that all the reports are pointing to some sort of normalcy with football. We're looking at some fans in the stadiums and traveling and they're hoping for the same scheduling, 17 weeks. And so that's all good stuff. But as far as camp and as far as these young guys go, they're really going to struggle. And it's going to hurt a couple greats too, quite honestly. This is the last thing Tom Brady needed. Tom Brady will figure it out. I'm not too worried. But this is the last thing he needed in a division with Drew Brees. In a division with Matt Ryan, who just picked up Todd Gurley to go behind him as well. This is the last thing Phillip Rivers needed on a new team. Seriously, in a division where the Titans just went a game shy of the Super Bowl, in a division that Deshaun Watson plays in. It's the last thing these guys needed. Even though they're veterans and they will figure it out to more of a degree than the younger guys, than kind of the sophomore players and the rookies, it's going to hurt. Not easy stuff. Might be the hardest, actually, the hardest sport to skip these important parts of the offseason and in the preseason. It might be the most important out of any other professional sport. So we'll see. It's going to be interesting. And as football gets closer, we'll dive more into how teams are going about these differences and film and camp and OTAs and everything. We'll figure it all out, and we will break that all down. But it's gonna be kind of fun to watch. And this really affects a quick little Vegas input here. It really affects teams over-unders and stuff like that. Listen, I mean, you look at the Bucs, I believe their over-under is 9.5. Full training camp, full preseason, full workouts. Yeah, I think they probably win over 9 games. Take all that away with a new quarterback in a division with Drew Brees, and the Saints being a Super Bowl favorite, in a division with Matt Ryan, Julio Jones, Calvin Ridley, now Todd Gurley. I don't know. I don't know if they win 10 games. We really don't. So it changes the whole landscape of it. It changes the whole landscape. So, and also to stay on Vegas really quick, and then we'll actually wrap it up. I think it's been a good show. It was productive. But another quick thing is your betting tickets for the NBA and the NHL. They're still figuring out some small parts of it about what's going to happen with certain tickets. But as far as your futures, as far as, say, you bet the Detroit Pistons to win, over however many games, like your over-unders, right? Or you took them to win, to make the playoffs. In Nevada, it goes state by state. But in Nevada, if your ticket was placed through Las Vegas or in Las Vegas, then your ticket will be canceled and you will be refunded. So that's good news. Unfortunately, if you're on the East Coast, we're hearing already FanDuel Sportsbook in New Jersey is saying you will not be refunded. So say you had the Knicks to win the NBA championship, or the Knicks to make the playoffs, or the Knicks to win over however many games. I'm sure they didn't hit their over. Maybe they did. Your ticket will not be canceled. And I don't know if I'm wording this great because we were really not sure yet. And when I do have a definitive answer from the sports books, then I'll give it out. But this is the rumblings that we're hearing from Vegas, is that it's going to be state by state. And it looks like Vegas is actually being more generous than some of the smaller books. Because we're already hearing New Jersey say, no, you won't be refunded. Which stinks. But, because I like to bet. I like to have my actual bets, and then I like to bet my, my favorite teams, just as far as, a future standpoint. The Knicks to win however many games, the Knicks to make the NBA Finals, and, obviously that didn't happen, as it never does. But, so, again, it stinks. It's sad that, the smaller books are seeming to kind of not want to give all the money back. But if your ticket was placed in Vegas, wait till they confirm this, wait till it's set in stone, and then go ahead, get your money back, and throw something else in. Put in a new bet on this new playoff format that I've broken down for you guys. So it's again, as more stuff comes out, we'll cover it again, each league. But for now, that's going to be it. We will get into NFL divisions this week. We'll start. I don't know where we're gonna start. I don't know what division we're gonna start in yet. You guys can, put in the comments or DM me on Instagram or however you want to get in touch. Let me know what divisions or teams you guys really want to hear about, what questions you want answered. I'd appreciate that. I want to engage you guys, and I was thinking I do want it to become more of a live kind of interaction with you guys, with the viewers. But that would be tough, because then it would require for me to go live and have to either, whatever it would be, take calls or probably in a chat. What that would require is the same time each night, and you guys are going to be busy and not everyone's going to be on. And so it just seems like kind of a mess. That's why I'm going to keep it for now recorded on YouTube and posted after the fact rather than live. Excuse me. But that's what we're going to look at now. If we do make a switch and go to a live stream, and if we do go to a live stream, you'll also be able to see the replays on YouTube. But I'll let you guys know if that changes. For now, it won't, though. For now, we're going to keep it the way it is. I've been getting good reviews. And yeah, so we'll get into the divisions, though, this week. We'll start going through that. And then as the NBA and NHL also get closer, we'll get into who we're really predicting to do what in those leagues as well. And hopefully baseball. Listen, I had a little questionnaire on Instagram for you guys yesterday, and I got a couple baseball questions, and I got sad just reading them, because I'm answering questions that we're probably not even going to ever see the answer to. Are they even going to play? I don't know. I don't know, but hopefully we get baseball as well. So thanks, guys, for coming, tuning in, and, keep it coming. I mean, again, questions, comments, I'm open to it all. So thanks for tuning in, guys, and hope you enjoyed the show. We'll see you soon.